Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 1988 TV miniseries, The Bourne Identity. The series is directed by Roger Young and it stars Richard Chamberlain as Jason Bourne and Jacqueline Smith as Marie. Right, okay, well this is, the clues in the title, The Bourne Identity came out 14, 15 years before the Matt Damon version, the much loved Jason Bourne franchise, obviously that I have covered very recently on this channel. I always kind of knew that this existed, I'd never seen it before. But I managed to find this and give it a watch, and it's 2 episodes, an hour and a half each. It's about 3 hours long, and it covers. My understanding is it more closely resembles the novel than the Matt Damon film, but they do share some similarities. Now, they don't kind of mirror each other, the movies, in very many ways, but I'll tell you the similarities, okay? They both kind of start off the same. He's kind of, floating in the ocean. There's been a failed assassination attempt. He's been shot, wounded, but rather than being rescued by a fishing boat, if you like, in the Matt Damon film, he kind of washes up on the shore, and a doctor kind of in this remote village kind of heals him back to health. And then, he's got the thing in his hip in this, like he does in the other one, telling him about the bank in Zurich. So it kind of starts off the same right up until he goes to the bank. So he goes to the bank in this one as well. Similar stuff, he finds out his identity from the bank. But the difference is, from pretty much the bank onwards, as he's leaving the bank, they're all over him. They're trying to assassinate him. Everybody's trying to assassinate him. There is mention of Treadstone and stuff in this, as well as there is in the Matt Damon franchise. But much of this is Richard Chamberlain, if you like, scrambling to stay alive because he doesn't really understand what's going on, and getting into many scraps and gunfights, car chases with these like shady assassins that are trying to take him out. It's a much more, I don't know if intent. I suppose it's quite an intense experience, actually, this miniseries. I was expecting it to be relatively tame because it was a made-for-TV miniseries. In actual fact, it's actually really quite violent. It doesn't hold back on the violence, the people, innocents getting shot in the back, and, people getting killed and shot in their necks. And, for the time, it would have been quite close to the bone, I would imagine. A very gritty thriller. Now, the portrayal of Jason Bourne between Richard Chamberlain and Matt Damon really couldn't be any different, I suppose. Now, again, my understanding is that in the novels, and I haven't read the novels, in the novels, Jason Bourne is described as an older man, or a more mature man, if you like, very much like Richard Chamberlain. So that's actually quite accurate to the books. People would, as soon as you say Jason Bourne, you think of the young man portrayed by Matt Damon in the movies, but no, he was actually much more accurately portrayed in regards to how he looks by Richard Chamberlain, and he plays him in a really quite uncompromising way. Now, if you don't really know who Richard Chamberlain is, and I'm sure many of you do, but there might be some of you watching this that don't know a lot about Richard Chamberlain. He was a big star in the 70s and 80s. He did a lot of miniseries, The Thornbirds, things like that. Shogun, I think he did. Did he do Shogun? I think he did in the 80s. And he was a big hit with, like, the Housewives, if you like it, that era. I remember my mum having a bit of a thing for Richard Chamberlain in the 80s. He used to kind of make the ladies swoon. And he did like the Quatermain movie as well that came out after Indiana Jones, the canon Quatermain movie that was mildly successful. So he has had, you know, his fair share of fame, Richard Chamberlain. He was a big star really when this came out. And he plays Jason Bourne very. I don't know what the right word is really. He's really quite violent. And the relationship he has with Marie in this film is infinitely different than the relationship he has with her in the Matt Damon version. I mean, it's almost more of a kidnap here. You know, the Richard Chamberlain character almost kidnaps Marie and threatens to kill her at every opportunity, and until they kind of come to an understanding later in the piece. It's a very fractured relationship, and one where she actually fears for her life from him, because he's just, you know, come with me, or I'm going to kill you, sort of thing. And it's also nicely constructed, and what I mean by that is, you know, it doesn't feel massively dated, and that's, I mean, obviously, yeah, the cars and all that kind of settings and this, that, and the other, but it's actually made almost like with like TV shows around at that time, sort of thing, and you know, you could tell they were like TV shows and they felt quite cheap and stuff. But this has got actually some quite impressive production values going on. Like I say, the explosions and the international feel to it, sort of thing. Quite a big production. I can't help but honestly tell you that I was quite impressed with this. I don't think it's up to obviously the same standard as the 2002 version of Matt Damon. That is obviously more Hollywoodized, the Matt Damon version, but it's also more palatable. And it's structured story-wise to kind of be paced an awful lot better than this. This is paced like a 3-hour TV movie. You know what I mean? But it still does its job remarkably well. And you get really, I mean, if there'd never been any of the like Matt Damon films and stuff like that, you know, Richard Chamberlain would be our Jason Bourne, I suppose. But you know, thankfully you can say that they did decide to kind of revisit it, and kind of do it justice on the big screen. But this is a nice, almost anomaly, really, that if you are a fan of Jason Bourne and Jason Bourne movies or the books, then you would probably find this quite interesting. Like I say, it is regarded to be more accurate to the book. And you can see the similarities between the two movies, but they're also largely quite different as well in a lot of ways too. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I had a quite good time watching this. It was fun to watch, it was fun to make the comparisons, and I think it's probably worth checking out for you guys if you're willing to give it a go. So thanks for joining me for this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my reviews for all the Bourne films. They're all available on the channel. I'll probably put them on a playlist if you want to look back and watch any of them. And I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.